This is the Great Alaska Hunting Podcast. I'm Dalton Gray.
And I'm Moriah Humphries.
Broadcasting from our hometown of Fairbanks, Alaska. This show is brought to you by Stealthy Hunter. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. Welcome back to this week's episode, everybody. I'm Dalton.
I'm Mo.
And this week on the Great Alaska Hunting Podcast, we'll do a little bit more of a gear overview or review, I suppose would be a...
Overview/review.
There you go. This is more suited for our YouTube audience. So if you're listening to this on Apple or on our website through our podcast link there, or Spotify or any other podcast platform.
Spotify will have a video version of this.
That's true. Yep, I forgot about that. So you can watch the video on Spotify or on our YouTube channel. This week we're talking about Initial Ascent packs.
Yeah.
This is something that we've had in our hands for, about a year and a half or so now. It started out with my wife and I getting a couple of them from the guys down there, and led into me getting another one and you using the one that I started out with. And we've used them on a number of hunts now. Varying styles and degrees of difficulties, and you've used one sheep hunting a couple of times now, and I've used mine on several deer hunts, and it's done well. Oh, I have mine on some bear hunts too in the spring. I forgot about that.
Caribou in sheep country.
Yep, that's right. So this week we're talking about Initial Ascent packs. They are run by a couple of gentlemen down in the lower 48, or the lesser 48 as we like to call them.
That work. Yeah.
We are in the big state.
Unless Canada becomes a state.
Wouldn't that be a sight? So Initial Ascent packs, probably not a ton of people know what they are. I was actually
that's probably
just
true.
talking to some folks from the lower 48 that are talking about coming up here, doing a hunting trip, and they were asking about backpacks. And that kind of made us think, we should talk about Initial Ascent packs. Now, Brian Call and Ryan Lampers is also one of the sponsors of this show. They've been involved in Initial Ascent packs and using them for a number of years now. And they've been involved in the design processes and some changes that have been made to the bags over the couple of years that they've been involved there. And Ryan was the one that kind of introduced me to him. My wife and I went on an alpine blacktail deer hunt with Ryan and Kayam, his camera guy, and Ryan's daughter last 2 years ago, August now, in the August of 2023. And that was a backpack style hunt, and we got dropped up high at an alpine lake and hunted from there, from camp. But all of us used Initial Ascent packs, and that was kind of my second stint with Initial Ascent. It started out, before that, I had gotten one the previous winter from those guys, and I used it guiding in the spring. And client killed a brown bear, and I carried it a very short distance into camp with the pack. And then my following client killed a black bear, and that black bear was about 7-foot class. And we fit the hide, the skull, and all the meat, the bag.
Nice.
And I carried it a mile or so down the beach.
Real far.
Yeah, not terribly far, but that wasn't a light pack out.
I imagine not.
It was pretty stout. All the quarters, neck meat, back straps. It was not light, and the head still had all the meat on it. It was still in the hide. We were just trying to boogie and get out of there before it got too dark and before any other bears happened upon us in the brush where that bear died. But that was my introduction into the packs. And then from there, I've used them here and there, and you used one packet on that sheep hunt that you accompanied me on with the client in August. And then you used one on your solo sheep hunt in September. And then my wife and I and you also all used them deer hunting in the Southeast Islands this year, which Tabitha and I used ours last year for deer hunting down there as well. Point being is we've used them enough, and that there have been some things that have been adjusted between this latest model of the 8K, is to say 8,000 cubic inches in the main bag. There have been a couple of changes between the first one that I got and this one. And more or less, this is just kind of a, what is it? What are the functionality of it? What is the functionality of it? What are the features of it? How is it laid out? Do we like it or not? So starting out, it looks kind of like any other backpack. Now this one's obviously empty. I guess the takeaway from this is it folds down real small.
It does, and you can strap it in, tighten it up real easy, cinch it down.
Yeah, it's the difference between this pack and say what I've used before of this style would be like the Stone Glacier Sky Guide 7900. And that's a very comparable bag as far as the size, I think, and as far as the designed use of the pack. It's more of that expedition style of a backpack for extended hunts. And so starts out real small, it folds down real small. There are other packs that don't fall down this small. That's a real benefit of having a pack this shallow that you can cinch it right down. You can put a little bit of stuff in here, and you don't have to have it all blown out.
Right, you can keep it tight and small. Yeah.
You can keep it close to your back. You can keep it relatively narrow. And it's easy to take apart because there is a load shelf on this bag behind the bag right next to the frame. And we'll get to that here in a little bit. But with the lid design on these bags, the lid zipper was something that Ryan actually mentioned that he thought was a huge improvement over other packs of this style. And that was the zipper location. A lot of lid zippers, like for instance on let's just use my Barney's bag as an example. Now the lid on my Barney's bag is about that much longer than this one. Right. You can fit more stuff in there.
Can you? I was wondering if you could.
But the zipper is on the side.
And if you open it.
So when you get all that stuff crammed in there, and you open the side zipper on the lid, you have to have it positioned in such a way that not everything comes tumbling out.
Right. I remember you having me stick stuff in it. Like here, stick this in my lid. And you're like, oh, careful, only open it a little bit. And it was like, if I open that thing all the way, it just dump out.
Yeah, it spills out. This one, the zipper is situated on the top of the lid, and it's in the middle.
Right.
So you can open it up, and it's 50-50 distribution in the lid. So you can get to something here, or here easily.
And the construction of it just kind of holds everything in there. It doesn't fall out very easily.
It does. Unbuckle the lid here, coming down to the front of the pack here, under these front two straps. And there's stretchy fabric right here on the forward pocket. So there's a little zip down horseshoe panel right here that opens up, and this stretches. I like to put my rain gear in here.
You told me that, and I found it's a great spot for it.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Right? You only have to undo one strap, if even that. If you keep these zipped to the top, you can easily unzip the top of this, leave this strap buckled, and you can reach in there and grab out your raincoat and your rain pants. And you can stuff even more stuff into
I was going to say,
into this
pouch.
pouch.
You can shove more stuff in there that if you don't want to open the main bag to get to.
Right. So you can have some stuff items in the bottom all the way down here, and then have your rain gear take up the top half. Or if you have bigger and bulkier rain gear, you can just use that whole front pouch for rain gear. And then the main bag compartment is a tube design. And this zips all the way down to the bottom of the bag. And sorry, I don't have all my Velcro strap holders in place here.
Oh.
So I have straps going on everywhere here. But this zips down and fully opens up to the main bag. Now, obviously, this is a lot deeper than this. I have it cinched down. But when you open this thing up, there's a lot of volume in here. And that comes with the territory of being an 8,000 cubic inch bag. There's a third buckle on the side here underneath that little stretch pocket. And so the bag has a lot of volume to it. I've got it all tangled up, don't I? And so you've got a high sidewall on the bag there, and the top also has a little roll top buckle.
Right.
I like that.
I do too.
And it's a good idea.
That top adds a tremendous amount of space to
so
bag.
This bag goes extremely tall.
Yeah.
More than you'll need on a lot of things. But it's nice to have the ability to put it in there.
Carrying extra food in for our camp.
Yeah.
There on the guided sheep hunt. I mean, I had that thing packed, maxed out.
Yeah. Now, you might think, well, if my bag is full going into a hunt, where am I going to put all the meat?
Well, number one, ideally, your bag's not full.
By the time you kill an animal, you've got some food out of there.
Right.
I even have little fire starters still in there. But, so the main bag, there's a lot of space, and obviously on the bottom here you have some little, cinch straps on the bottom.
If you can open those up and get even more space into the stuff into the bottom.
Open those up, and then the whole thing blows out into 8,000 cubic inches.
Or you can keep them cinched down if you don't have a lot of lightweight stuff to shove in the bottom.
Right. And the pack material is very durable. Obviously, the stretch pocket on the front here is not as durable. There is a little stretchy side pocket down here that can get caught on stuff and torn if you're in some real thick, thorny type of stuff. But I haven't torn one on my old one, and I haven't torn one on my new one yet, so it hasn't been an issue for me as far as durability is concerned. The main thrust of these style of bags, though, is the ability to carry a lot of weight without having to have a full-on frame pack. Now, there is a limit. Every pack has a limit.
Right.
Even a full-on frame pack has a limit. The problem with something like a frame-style bag, let's just use Barney's, and I think Barney's has their place, and I've got a Barney's bag, and I use it a lot for guiding. The advantage that you have with a frame-style bag, like an aluminum external frame, is the width, number one. And number two is that aluminum isn't going to bend.
Right.
You're going to really have to be reefing on it and dropping it or setting it down with 150 plus pounds, bend or break one of those aluminum stays on that frame. With this one, it is a little bit lighter built, obviously. The pack weight of this bag and frame alone is about half of what a Barney's bag is, of what my big bag and frame weighs. So the advantage of being light and fast and compact to be able to shimmy through the brush and things with a pack like this on versus a full-on frame pack, this is a lot more comfortable to carry through that thicker vegetation and terrain. But it has a weight limit. The difference between the Initial Ascent and something like the Stone Glacier that I've used before is the Stone Glacier doesn't seem to carry the weight as well as this does.
And it's the design of the frame that really makes it stand out overall, right?
And so we're going to yank this apart here and show you that frame. So this is the other thing, too, is the ease of operation for the user. And I do not consider myself, super savvy person when it comes to putting things together and taking them apart.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I like things to be simple.
You're not dumb, but
no,
you're slow.
Well, appreciate that. So all you have to do is take these little load lifter straps out of their buckles, pull those through there, and then your lid slides off the top of that. Pull those little buckles through there on the top, and there's a slot in the base of the lid there. The lid folds back, and then you lift the bag off of its little retention strap right there over the top of the frame. And to do that, we'll unbuckle all the side buckles here to detach the bag from the frame so that the bag is no longer being held to the frame by the side buckles. You lift that up and over that carbon stay, and this is a carbon fiber frame for this bag as well. And now the bag flops off the frame. That's, even for futzing around with it, pretty fast.
Pretty quick. Yeah, pretty
And
easy.
it's easier, in my opinion, than the Stone Glacier is. Now, with every user, you're going to have your own personal likings and dislikings. Yeah. If you like the Stone Glacier and you've got one, then that's great. I feel like this is tougher.
Frame is?
The frame is tougher. It's a little bit stiffer. It distributes the weight better. There's an arc to this frame. You can see how that is curved.
Mm-hmm.
That's intentional. By that design, the way that it keeps the weight distributed between your shoulders and your hips on the hip belt is superior to the Stone Glacier design, in my opinion. Again, it's personal. Everybody's back is going to be slightly different. Right. Some guys wouldn't like this. I haven't met very many of them. Matter of fact, I don't know anybody personally that has tried an Initial Ascent pack and hasn't liked it. Like I said, I've had in the class of 130 pounds in this pack, and it doesn't feel like 130 pounds. Whereas I've had 100 pounds in my Stone Glacier bag, and it feels like 100 pounds. Now, you get to a point where heavy is just heavy, and it's just going to sag, and it's going to pull down on your shoulders, and it's just going to fall off your hips.
Yeah.
That point will happen eventually with any pack.
Enough, a lot of weight's a lot of weight regardless.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a point where stupid heavyweight is just stupid heavyweight. But this one, within its reason, does a superior job of carrying that weight. It's easy to use. It's very, very simple. There's a little panniard right here that you can unbuckle and use these side buckles to go into these on the frame, where you can run this without a main bag, where if you want to go light and fast on a day trip, you just want to run a panniard and their little exterior attachment.
Yeah, with the lid.
And the lid.
Yep.
So you have storage in here, which is another couple hundred cubic inches. You can also attach this to the front of your bag and clip these into the side of these little slots on your straps here. So you can have additional storage on top of your 8K bag, or if you want to delete the bag for whatever reason for a day trip, you can run the panniard to hold meat on the meat shelf and have this attached for sticking your rain gear in and a bottle of water and a little bit of food. And between the lid and your attachment, is this called the Cub?
Yeah, I believe so.
I think it's called the Cub. And this is sold separately from the pack. But between the Cub attachment and the lid, you can go out for a day if you're coming back to camp at night and have all the storage you need for a lot of situations, for little day trips, ripping around lightweight. And that is even less space off your back than the main pack is.
Yeah, and you still have enough room for a tarp, for your rain gear,
right,
for some puffies.
I want to say
and a little bit of food, and you're about maxed with that, as long as you're don't have too big a rain gear and stuff like that.
Right, right. I want to say this is like 300 cubic inches.
I think it is. I believe the lid is too.
Yeah. So you have upwards of 600 cubic inches
plus
of storage.
This pannier has a pocket in the front of it here.
With a little bungee on it.
With a little bungee on it. And you can actually fit quite a lot of stuff in there.
Right. So with that option, you have the ability to run this ultra light and fast. I know Brian has talked about using that for just archery hunting, going real light, real quiet, no extra material with the pack for noise. Because
there's less bulk around you just from hit and brush and whatnot.
Slithering through and bow hunting and in tight with animals.
You know, I almost did that. I talked about it, deer hunting this year.
Yeah.
And then I just never bothered
to
do it because what I had was working. I kind of wish I had now.
Yeah.
Especially now we're sitting with this in front of us. Like, man, that actually looked super slick. And there was, multiple times when you're packed, like you're going through something and you stop and you figure it out and you get around.
Catch on something, yeah. At one point, I even pulled out my little handsaw this year deer hunting.
Oh, did you?
We got into a patch of Devil's Club, and I said, no, there's no way around it. The trail goes underneath of it where the deer go.
Right.
So I pulled my saw. I kept my my little steel handsaw in this little side pocket here, which is good for a spotter pocket. This has a little elastic cord on the top of it there. I like to stuff my spot and scope in here, and that's a full length down to the bottom of the bag there as well.
You fit a huge spotter in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I fit my 85 or 80 millimeter Swarovski 20 to 60 in there, and it's plenty of room for that.
I ran a Miopter that was just as big in mine as well.
What I do like to do, though, because this attachment goes all the way to the bottom, when I have my spotter in there, the objective lens is down, I put a little cutout of Thermarest foam pad in the bottom of there because I have fallen before. And this is the bottom of your bag.
Right.
So when you slip and you fall on your rear end and that bag hits the ground, I don't want my spotter objective taking that pack.
So when I was running that Miata, I believe I kept this cinch strap down a little bit. I'm trying to remember, I think I kept it off the bottom just a little bit with something like that.
Yeah.
Just it didn't let it go quite into the bottom of the pocket.
Right. But just keep that in mind if you're putting a spotter in there, something fragile, put a little chunk of Thermarest pad foam in there. My spotter didn't break when I fell on it, but
did you have a plastic cap in there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a little plastic cap. I'm sure that's what saved the housing from taking the full impact. But kind of in a nutshell, that's what it is. It's super simple. If we can figure it out, I'm sure you can. And Initial Ascent is run by a couple of good guys. They're good folks. They're like you and me. Another thing I like about them is the buckles aren't tiny. Now, there is one thing, the lid buckles.
Those are a little small.
I think those are a little bit small. And I've asked Dennis about that. Dennis and Joe, the guys that own it. I've talked to Dennis about that and said, I would like if these and these straps on the front of the bag that attach the lid to the bottom of the pack
same size as everything else.
Were the same size as everything else. The full size buckle.
Yeah.
Like these ones here. On the pannier, for these little side ones, I understand why they'd want to keep that smaller. But with these ones, where I've got the lid and I'm trying to cinch everything down and I'm really pulling on these little guys here and I'm yanking on them, I get real nervous about that.
I know the feeling, yeah.
Because you and I have both used
especially once you got that pack full.
Yeah, and you got a lot of weight in it. There's a lot of stress and strain on all the buckles and all the straps. And I haven't broken one yet.
Right. Yeah, like this little one here on top, that makes perfect sense for what it does.
Right.
Which just helps you buckle in the roll top if you've got a lot of stuff in it. But
right. But overall, it's built stout.
Mm-hmm.
We've had them on a lot of hunts. You've had how much gear for an extended day hunt? I mean, you had 14 days worth of gear and food, sheep hunting at times.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I was at one point carrying all my gear plus enough food for everybody for an additional 6 days.
Right.
Right. Like I had a lot. I mean, that was just gear wise. And then later in that trip, without the bag, I carried that caribou out. Got the whole caribou on the bag.
Yeah.
But that came down to too much weight for the frame, right? It just for my frame.
Yeah. But I guess just one more thing while we're putting this back together. When you have the bag full and there's meat on the load shelf, you can't always get, if it's too tall, you can't get the lid back over these little struts here. So
I don't usually run my load lifters over the lid like that. I just run the lid loose over the top.
Right, and that's totally fine. I like to do it this way because it keeps the lid from coming off of there.
So what I'll do, if I can, I just jam those slots onto the top of the load lifters a little bit.
Yeah.
And actually, I think I have the load lifters lower on my, I'm not sure, on my frame too. And that slot down, I might have a few things switched around on there. Because you can, it is quite customizable.
Right.
It's very easy to adjust the shoulder strap height. And you can adjust the shoulder strap height, and you can adjust a lot of like the buckle positions and stuff like that.
Right. And any one of these buckles that goes through the frame can come out.
They pop right out. Yep.
And be replaced.
Yep.
They don't pop out easily when you don't want them to.
No, yeah.
But they're all slotted to go through the frame with these little, I guess, stops right there. These little plastic stops. And when I first saw that, I was a little bit questioning of it.
Because plastic?
I thought, is that really going to hold all that weight?
If the buckle holds it.
And it does.
Yeah.
It holds it just perfectly fine. And they all come with these little Velcro straps.
You always start out the hunt with all those nice and tight, and by the end of the hunt, you don't care.
Most of the time, I don't even care when I start.
Really?
My wife cares.
Oh, I'm sure she does.
But she's...
oh, yeah.
Yeah, she cares more about how neat and trimmed down everything is. If I have straps blowing in the wind on my back and hitting me in the sleeves, I really don't care. But you have that option. Little cup holder here on the side. If I'm carrying a rifle and I want it strapped to my pack for some reason, which I don't do a lot of, then I'll run it on this side underneath one of the buckles, and I'll stick the buttstock of the rifle in this little sleeve here.
I was going to say, you don't actually have to take apart the load lifter strap there to pop this off. It's the same plastic hasp as on the side. So you just pop that out like that, and boom, it's out.
Right.
Move the lid.
Right.
Move the bag off, put it back.
Right. Sometimes when my fingers are cold and wet, though.
Yeah, I can see.
And I don't feel
it can be easier to undo the strap.
Yeah.
It's just more time consuming, depending on how you're feeling.
Right. But you can just pop that little stopper out of there, pull the load lifter out of the way, remove the lid, pull the bag off, put your meat on there, put the bag back on.
I'll comment on the handle on this thing.
Yeah, I like the handle.
It's good.
It's in a good spot. It's attached to the frame. There's no give to it.
So
I like it.
Something that it's related because it's a backpack, okay? But it's not really related. But I would love to see, this has the same kind of handles, okay? And it's just this is just a, carry-on backpack. I use it for my computer and stuff for the show. But it has the same kind of handle on the back, right? Same exact design.
Yeah.
And it has one on the front.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It's super nice.
Yeah.
So we need one on that lid somewhere.
Well, then you'd be putting even more strain.
I know, on those little buckles, right? So we need big buckles. Yeah.
Bigger buckles and a front handle. I don't really see the full use of a front handle.
I didn't until I used it on the back.
Yeah. But they do have a good water bottle holster.
Good water bottle holster. You've got little pouches you can get at the side.
Yep. I've got the large pouch. I can fit my phone or my inReach in there. Plenty of storage. Little zipper there. I keep my license and tags and a little flagging tape and my deer call still in there. The lumbar support is plenty up to the task. And again, you can see kind of the curvature here. And these buckles are all to hold the suspension in place. These are all tight when it's under load. Good lumbar support, and you can see the curve of the frame there and how it arcs out and then back down to the hip belt. Another thing that they changed about the hip belt with the newer models is instead of having this strap come this way out of the buckle front, they have them this way so that when you have the pack on, you can pull it and cinch inwards. And I've found it easier to cinch that.
Yeah, well, it's a different kind of keep, too, than it was on the old one.
Right. There's no slip that happens with this style. On the older model...
Did you have some slip? I guess there was a little bit.
Yeah,
you'd have to reach down there and tighten it up
every once in a while I'd have to reach down on the old one on the hip belt, re-cinch it down, which, as you hike with weight, you just get a little bit thinner and thinner and thinner throughout the day, it seems like. And then you stop and take a break, get back up, and you go to put your pack back on, and you cannot get that buckle on. So you have to loosen it. Yeah. At least I do.
And then you bend over and you hike it up and you tighten it back up and you keep going. Yeah.
With this one, I found that it stays in place a lot better.
I have a Eberly stock F1 mainframe.
Okay.
Which is kind of their big, at least for a while, it was the big thing they advertised a lot because it was super modular, right? You buy this frame and then you can buy whatever bag, whatever you want to put on it. It had zippers on it you could put on it and all this stuff. And I think it by itself, what does this bag weigh? Do you know?
Oh, I think it's 4 pounds and change.
I think that frame itself weighs like right at 4 pounds.
Yeah.
And it's an aluminum frame. Now, it's not super wide like your Barney's. It's a little bit narrower. And, it doesn't have the posts sticking out the top and stuff like that. And it's got a fixed shelf on the bottom. And I've used that to carry a lot of weight. Never very long, really, but I have carried quite a bit of weight with that. And my number one complaint with that is the hip belt. You think the one on that loosened up a little bit over time. That one is like you could not keep it tight. You get it tight, next thing you know, like the pack is like all on your shoulders and it's just constant. And I'm sure, and I have a little bit older one. They may have fixed that. But that, everything about the way this pack carries, you talk about weight, it carries the weight so much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another thing that I originally was a little bit concerned about was the thickness of the shoulder straps. But because of the frame design and how well it works, at least on our backs, I don't feel like this is lacking. Now, I think these are a little bit thicker than the old ones, is what Dennis was saying. I could be wrong on that, but I know we were talking a little bit
I've
about
never felt like they were too
shoulder
thin
straps.
like wearing it.
Right, but I think they're plenty up to the task.
Yeah.
But we haven't had any blowouts or failures or problems with stitching or anything like that. They hold up. And that's anywhere from the southern coast doing brown bear hunts and whatnot to all the way up into the northern parts of the interior, caribou and sheep hunting and full on living out of your pack. And an 8K is plenty enough room to live out of for an extended
Oh, yeah.
10-day, 12-day hunt without a problem. Obviously, packing the right gear and the right clothing and picking your materials is right.
Pack 12 days of water.
Yeah, packing 12 days of water is tough, even with
Packing 5 days of water.
It's not a lot of fun. Water just, makes it tough. But we are partnered with Initial Ascent packs. This is not the only reason why we want to talk about this pack, though. We are working with them. We don't have any kind of a discount code or anything like that through their company, but we like working with good brands, and we appreciate their support. And so we wanted to talk about the bag and pack. So if you have any questions about Initial Ascent packs, you can either reach out to us. We have a contact button on our website, the Great Alaska Hunting Company.com. And you can reach us there, or you can reach us at our social medias, or the Endless Hunter, or Modrenalin. That's where they can reach us on Instagram for now. And or you can reach out to Initial Ascent and talk to those guys as well, send them an email or get in touch with them. But we appreciate working with them, and we like their pack. We've got some more plans for a lot more hunts coming up this year, now that we're in the new year. Spring bear is coming pretty close, and I imagine that we'll have some more blood. I still got deer blood on the lid of this pack.
You going to use that bear hunting this year?
I'm not 100% sure. So that's one of the things about like the Barney's pack with having the full-on aluminum exterior frame is the width. And when you get a big brown bear hide with the claw still in it and the skull still in the hide, it's pretty bulky. And so stuffing that on the load shelf, it would be difficult to contain it in the sides. I might try to stuff it in the main bag. It would probably fit well enough to use it, but it's hard on the bag material.
So that comes to when you're packing the bear, usually that's just a mile or two, right? Do you need the big bag while you're packing the bear?
It's been nice.
Has it? Okay. I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
I mean,
I used this one on one brown bear, and it wasn't 10-foot giant class. It was a big enough bear, but it filled it up pretty quick. And so my hesitation was if I go much bigger than this, then we might not have enough room. The other thing, too, is with moose quarters. I can put those moose quarters in that Barney's pack, in the bag. I couldn't do that with this bag. It's not wide enough.
Right.
I know Lampers and Brian and a couple of other guys that they've had up here moose hunting with them before. They've put moose quarters right on the frame and just strapped them to it.
I feel like it still would be a little bit like that. Pannier is awesome, but for something the size of them, as big as a moose quarter can be, you have some advantages. It's going to keep the weight high and all that kind of stuff, but sometimes you just need the space.
Yeah.
Is there I don't remember, can you move the pannier lower, the bottom of the pannier, or no, it's fixed where it's at?
Yeah, it's pretty well where it's at.
I didn't know if you could move that down.
Yeah, because I looked at that too. So there are advantages to having a slightly bigger bag for a couple of things up here. But for the majority of it, if you're not packing moose quarters and you don't have a bear hide that won't fit in this, like I said, I had a 7-foot black bear in here, hide, head, all the meat, and it didn't fill it up completely. I mean, I had the bag extended up a good ways, and it was full width, depth. And the bottom was completely filled out.
Right.
But I had enough room to stuff a few other things on top of it and carry all of it out. So it's up to the task for, I would say, 80+% of what we do up here.
I would, and probably for anybody coming up here, it's everything they'd ever need.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Sure. Especially if you're coming up on a guided trip and you're going on a sheep hunt or a backpack style hunt and you need a pack to carry a bunch of stuff in, but not everything when you kill an animal, a bag like this is the ticket. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, that's it for this one, folks. We hope you enjoyed our little discussion about Initial Ascent packs. If you'd like to check them out, go to their website. And our other sponsors of the show that we should mention are Stealthy Hunter, Ryan Lampers. Thank you for the support from Ryan and the folks down there, and also Hammer Bullet. In our next episode, we'll talk a lot more about bullets. So stay tuned for that. We hope you enjoyed this little short gear review of the Initial Ascent K-Pack. Next time.